More times than not, UFC fans can have the memory of a goldfish. A fighter can have one good fight after three terrible fights, and the narrative can completely change, and all of a sudden they're a world beater, and they're going to be the next champ, and vice versa. But today we're going to be looking at some of the most overrated fighters in the UFC. So, what does it mean to be an overrated fighter? In my eyes, an overrated fighter is the fan perception of your skills and ability is higher than your true level of skills and ability. So this doesn't necessarily mean they're bad or that they'll never be champ. I'm just saying the fans' perception isn't an accurate reflection of your true ability. So with that in mind, I'm gonna show you my list and see if you agree, disagree. But for flyweight, I got Manel Kopp. He's hot right now. He's coming off a win of Almabayev and Bruno Silva. But people are forgetting just the fight before that, he got absolutely ragdolled by Muhammad Mokaev, who's no longer in the UFC. As soon as Mokaev left the UFC, they completely forgot about that for whatever reason. But Kopp looked awful in that fight. And you got people saying he's going to beat Pantoja, which Pantoja already beat him. And he had a double eye poke finish. Still a good performance overall, but it wasn't clean. That's not a clean finish. You eye poking someone and then finish them that's not how you do a clean finish. Not to mention the stoppage was horrible. And now Manel Kopp also has some gyno, which we're not stupid. It's not from weed. It's not from anything else. It's from gear. So he's enhanced as well, and he's fouling on top of that. So I gotta say Manel Kopp's the most overrated fighter in this division. I just think people gas him up way too much for what he really is. Yeah, he's quick on the feet, but he can easily be exploited in the grappling, which is exactly what Pantoja is going to do to him. So he's not going to beat Pantoja. I don't know where this misconception came from. At bantamweight, I do a Corey Sandhagen. His hype's died down a little bit, but some people still think he could beat Sean O'Malley, which could not be further from the truth. He just got outstruck by Umar Nurmagomedov, and you could say, threat of takedown, this, that, the other. Fair enough. That does lower your striking a little bit, but still, he was not throwing anything unique. He's just doing cardio kickboxing the whole time. And while his grappling has improved, he's just not a grappler. He doesn't have a grappler build. Sure, he can work on it and get better, but at the end of the day, that's not where his bread and butter is. His bread and butter is always going to be his striking. He has a beautiful build for it, but for whatever reason, he wanted to turn heel and become a boring fighter out of nowhere. He used to be a killer. Now, when a Corey Sandhagen fight comes on, you just get your phone out and get ready to go on Instagram Reels. And that's just the fact of the matter. Um, he went way down in entertainment value. He is no longer the dark horse of the bantamweight division, which I'd say Umar still. I think he could arguably beat Marab, but that's besides the point. Either way, Sandhagen his last couple of performances have just been boring and didn't look too pretty. So I'm gonna say Sandhagen's the most overrated. He hasn't been doing too hot as of late. For featherweight, I gotta go with Diego Lopez. This one's easy. Now, again, he beat Ortega, and everyone forgets the Danny Gay fight all of a sudden, in which Danny Gay stepped in on 3 hours notice and beat him in the third round and almost finished him. He was working on a fight, but he wasn't in full fight shape. And you could say the weight cut, whatever, which fair enough, but dude, you should still be able to go 3 rounds regardless. He's gonna be going 5 rounds against Volk. And I mean, if Dan Ige giving you trouble, what do you think Volk's gonna do? And people just think he's got some dynamite in his hands, which he does, but he's not like Topuria, bro. He's not gonna connect that shot to Volk's chin. And his grappling's not anything Volk hasn't dealt with. He's gone against arguably one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the featherweight history, and probably the best current wrestler, maybe the best wrestler of all time in Islam Makhachev twice, and defended his grappling beautifully both times. So Diego's not going to be a problem, and I would love to see the odds on this fight. I pray that Volkanovski's the favorite. If he's not, I'm going to be making out big time with a good dog pick. So I got to give it to Diego Lopez. He's certainly good. He has pretty good striking, good ground game, but he doesn't have a deep tool bag in his striking, and he doesn't have the gas tank, especially for a 5-round fight with someone who fights as high volume as Volk. So I'm going to say Diego Lopez is the most overrated featherweight. For lightweight, I had to go with Dan Hooker. Now look, Dan Hooker, I love him. Entertaining fighter. I would never want to miss a Dan Hooker fight. So let's just clear that out of the air right now. Dan Hooker's one of my favorites. But the fact of the matter is, he got a robbery win over Gamrot. He almost lost to Jalen Turner. That shot would have knocked out anyone. And before all those wins he got in the resurgence, he was on a big losing skid. And he was honestly doing pretty crappy. So Dan Hooker is number 6 in the lightweight division right now, only because of Miracle and a gift from the judges. Even watching that fight live, I wanted Dan to win because that's my dog pick. I was like, he has a better chance than people are giving him. And he did end up winning, but I wasn't too sure at the end that he actually really did win. And not to mention he's taking so much damage. He's a little chinny now. He get hurt a lot easier than he used to, especially after that Jalen Turner war. On top of all the wars he's been in before, Jalen Turner, Dustin Poirier, dude, pretty much every fight he's in. So I gotta go Dan Turner, Dan Hooker for most overrated lightweight. I think the 6 is very misleading as far as his actual skills and abilities go. For welterweight, I gotta go with JDM. He's fighting Bilal for the title. People are, oh, his boxing's amazing. His boxing, this, that, and the third. Dude, JDM, first of all, his gas tank sucks. So let's get that out of the way. He's going against one of the best cardio fighters at welterweight as someone who has a poor gas tank himself. So that's not a good recipe. Not to mention Gilbert Burns, old wash Gilbert Burns, just out grappled him 2 or 3 rounds, or maybe it was 1-1 going in the third, and was out grappling him in the third round. That's old wash Gilbert Burns. What do you think a prime, maybe slightly over the hill Bilal Muhammad is going to do with better cardio, better striking, and better grappling? The answer is he's going to beat him pretty easily. This fight's just not going to be close, dude. Bilal's striking, much as I hate to say it, has gotten better. His defense, his offense, and JDM's not going to catch him on the fence and hit him with a clean combo. People always like to go to that clip where JDM's piecing some guy up on the fence. Bro, he's moving in slow motion. He's literally gassed out. It's not going to happen against Bilal. Sorry to break everyone's hearts, but it's just how the fight's going to go. Come back to this video after that fight, and please let me know, because I think it's going to be the easiest win for Bilal, unless he gets caught, but stylistically, he wipes the floor with JDM. For middleweight, most overrated fighter is Khamzat Chimaev. Now, I know some people are probably saying, whoa, what do you mean? Khamzat Chimaev, he's an absolute marauder, boogeyman, this, that, and the third. Dude, not too long ago, people were saying Chimaev was a fraud after his Usman fight, or you could even look after his Burns fight, but then he had a good performance after to wipe everyone's memories all of a sudden. And now people forget that Usman arguably should have won. Usman won 2 rounds off him. Arguably should have been a draw. Burns won a round off him. Gilbert Burns, that is. And dude, Usman was on short notice, like 10, 14 days. And Khamzat gassed out faster than him. Not to mention, Kamaru Usman's a welterweight. We can even look at his performance against Whitaker. Yeah, it was beautiful, you can't ask for anything else. But the actual submission itself, dude, he didn't even have the choke under the chin. Robert's jaw was already compromised going into that fight. So, yeah, it was a really good win, but how much credit can you really give him? I don't know. It's not like one of his vintage finishes, I don't think. I just think it was a bit of a flukier finish. Now am I saying Whitaker would have won? Who knows? But I don't know, dude. I'm not sold on the idea that Hamzat's going to beat Dricus. I still think Dricus is going to beat him and give him a piece of humble pie. Light heavyweight, Khalil Rountree. This one actually kind of surprised me. I just watched back the Khalil Rountree Alex Pereira fight a couple days ago, and the narrative is so wrong on that fight. So wrong. Khalil landed 2 good shots in that second round, I think it was. He hit him with that hard right, and he hit him with that head kick, which didn't even phase Pereira. Neither did. Like, the hard right dropped Pereira, but he was throwing a kick off balance, whatever. But the whole time, Pereira was in control of that fight. Like, he was managing the distance. He was pressing Khalil back, and the only time Khalil wasn't going back is when he blitzed forward and Alex dodged all the punches. But Khalil did not really do much in that fight. People were really gassing up his performance, and I'm just realizing this now. And then you obviously have his robbery win over Justin Jacoby, which no one talks about anymore. Dustin Jacoby really took him to life and death. And then obviously Anthony Smith is probably his best win, which my grandma could probably be Anthony Smith at this point. So I just think people overrated the hell out of his last performance against Pereira, and he's nowhere near the level people say he is. People think he's just going to wipe the floor with Jamal Hill, which he may, but it's not going to be as easy as the Smith fight or the Jacoby fight. He hasn't had the performance that warrants us to be calling him one of the best fighters in the division, which honestly, I think someone like Carlos Alberg would give him a run for his money, if not beat him. So I just think Khalil coming off that loss to Pereira, he got gassed up just because he survived as long as he did. But his performance itself, go back and watch the fight, was not as good as people are saying. And then heavyweight, I had to go with Alexander Volkov. He already lost to Tom Aspinall, lost to Gane twice, lost to Derek Lewis. And the fact of the matter is, he's gotten better, sure, but he's never going to be champ. And people are talking about him all of a sudden. They forget all the losses he had. He just got a couple wins back to back. He washed Pavlovich, which Pavlovich has been gun shy ever since the Aspinall fight. Some people say he beat Gane. I don't know. Gane had some submission attempts in that third round, I think it was. It could have gone either way. I don't think the robbery is as bad as people are making it out to be. But either way, like, it shouldn't have been that close if he was really that dominant and a future champ. Because you know what John Jones did to Cyril Gane? He submitted him in the first round. So if Alexander Volkov was really that good, he went on life and death with Cyril Gane. He's never going to be champ. He's not going to beat Tom. He's not going to beat John. And people are just really hot on him right now because he had a close fight with Gane. Not even a win, a close fight, which he arguably won, not even definitively won. So I think the most overrated heavyweight's got to be Alexander Volkov. He's just getting glazed right now. Those are my picks for the most overrated UFC fighters right now. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments, but I'll see you soon.